The world is a white blindness. Kael's eyes, the sharpest in his clan, are useless. He can see no farther than the tip of his spear. The great ice age has entered its hungry season, and the wind drives a relentless, horizontal blizzard that erases the land, muffles all sound, and turns the simple act of walking into a struggle for survival. He is the clan's best hunter because he can read the story of the world at a glance. A bent twig, a disturbed stone, the distant flight of a startled bird. But this snow is a page that has been wiped clean, a story with no words. And in this white silence, his people are vanishing. 2 hunters have been lost. Not to a foal, not to a visible predator, but simply erased by the snow. They went out to check their snares and did not return. The search parties found nothing. No tracks, no blood, no sign of a struggle. It is as if the blizzard itself has developed a mouth and a hunger. A new fear has taken root in the clan, a fear of the whiteness itself. It is a primal fear, the terror of an enemy that cannot be seen, a threat that leaves no evidence. In the relative warmth of their ice cave, only one person is not afraid. Ina is an elder whose eyes died long before the sun did. The clan cares for her, respects her for the story she holds, but they see her as a relic, a fragile piece of their past. Kael, a man of action and sight, finds her stillness unsettling. Her world is a landscape of touch and scent. Her gnarled fingers are never still, constantly tracing the textures of the world around her, the smooth, cold surface of a flint core, the rough weave of a fur cloak, the subtle vibrations in the cave floor. This is her sight, a constant, delicate act of haptic perception. When Kael returns from the last failed search, shivering undefeated, Ina is the one who speaks. "There is a new smell on the wind, Kael," she says, her voice a dry rustle. It is not the smell of bear or wolf. He is weary, impatient. It is just the snow, old mother. No, she insists, her head tilted as if listening to a sound only she can hear. It smells of cold stone and old blood. A hunter that does not feel the frost. He dismisses her, turning to the fire. Her world is one of scent and shadow, the stuff of spirits, not of flesh and bone. The next day, Kael leads a small party to a sheltered ravine where hardy ice ferns grow, a last resort for food. The blizzard is a living thing, a howling, white beast. They move at a tight knot, their world shrunk to a few feet of churning snow. Suddenly, the hunter beside him, a young man named Tol, makes a soft, choked sound. Kael turns. Tol is no longer looking at him. His eyes are wide with a terror Kael cannot comprehend, staring at a patch of snow just to his left. Kael sees nothing. For a single, impossible heartbeat, a shape coalesces out of the blizzard, a whiteness that is whiter than the snow. The ghost of teeth and a strange, bony crest. A Cryolophosaurus perfectly adapted, its hide the color of the storm. Before Kael can even raise his spear, the shape lunges. There is no roar, just a silent, fluid motion and a wet, muffled crunch. Tol is gone, dragged into the white blindness. Kael is left staring at an empty space, his heart a block of ice in his chest. His greatest strength have failed him completely. Kael returns to the cave a different man. The pride that carried him like a second spine is gone, shattered by the silent, white violence of the ravine. He is a ghost horse, vanishing act burned behind his eyes. He says nothing to the others. He walks past the fire, past the grieving faces, and kneels before Ina. The clan watches in stunned silence. The best eyes in the world have come to beg for the help of the blind. "Old mother," he says, his voice a hoarse whisper. "I saw it, but I did not see it. It was the color of the storm." He places his hand on hers, a gesture of supplication. "You smelled it. Teach me how to see what you smell." Ina's face, a mask of serene wrinkles, does not change, but her hand turns in his, her long, sensitive fingers exploring the calluses on his palm, reading the story of his fear. This is her moment of sensory compensation, the point where her heightened senses become not a personal world, but a tool for her people. "My legs are roots, Kael," she says, "but my nose and my ears can still hunt. You will be my legs. I will be your eyes." It is an act of profound community and a humbling of the self for the sake of the whole, the strong lending his body to the frail so that her wisdom may guide them. The hunt for knowledge begins the next morning. Kael, his back bent against the wind, carries Ina through the blizzard. She is a fragile weight, bundled in furs. But her mind is a precision instrument. He is her vessel, and she guides him through a world he has never known. Turn left, she commands, her voice a whisper in his ear. The wind carries the scent from that ridge. It is stronger there. Kael sees only a wall of white, but he obeys. Stop, she says moments later. The ground is harder here. It is a path it uses. He looks down, and for the first time, he notices a subtle compression in the snow, a ghost of a trail his eyes had dismissed as a wind drift. They move like this for hours, a single composite creature, a fusion of senses. He is the body, she is the mind. He describes the shapes that emerge from the white, a twisted tree, a dark outcrop of rock. She in turn builds a map of the unseen world, a landscape of scent and vibration. They find the creature's lair, a shallow cave behind a curtain of frozen waterfalls, not by sight, but by the concentration of the cold, bloody scent that hangs in the air around it. At the heart of their enemy's territory, they find their weapon. The wind howls through the bones of the predator's previous kills, a grim boneyard scattered around the cave mouth. It shrieks across a splintered rib cage, creating a low moan, but as it gusts through the hollow, narrow channel of a fossilized horn, it creates a sound that is barely audible, a high-pitched, piercing whistle on the very edge of hearing. The study of vibro-acoustic is millennia away, but its laws are absolute. The instant the whistle sounds, Ina flinches, her hand gripping Kael's shoulder. Pain, she whispers. The scent. It is sharp with it. It hates that sound. At the same moment, from the shadows of the cave, they hear a choked, guttural hiss, a sound of agony, not aggression. The ghost in the storm, the perfect killer, has a weakness. It can be wounded by a sound that humans can barely perceive. They have found a secret, a way to fight a monster they cannot see, a weapon made of wind and bone. They return to the ice cave not as a defeated search party, but as a council of war. Kael, his face grim but his eyes alight with a new, fierce hope, lays the fossilized horn before the clan. He does not try to explain the complex theory of sound and pain. He demonstrates. He puts the horn to his lips and blows, his breath forcing the wind's high, thin song into the enclosed space. The sound is a needle in the ear, barely there but sharp. The children flinch. The dogs whine, flattening their ears. It is a sound that feels wrong, a sound that scrapes at the edges of the world. In that moment the clan understands. Their enemy is a bell, and they have just learned how to ring it. The cave is transformed. It is no longer a shelter from the storm, but a workshop dedicated to a single radical purpose. The clan, a community united by this strange new hope, becomes a symphony of artisans. They gather the bones of the ancient dead, the grim leavings scattered by the blizzards. They are not looking for weapons to hold, but for instruments to play. Ina is the conductor of this strange orchestra. They bring her each piece of bone, each hollowed-out horn, and she holds them, her fingers tracing their shapes, her cheek pressed against them as a hunter taps them with a piece of flint. She is listening for sympathetic resonance, a concept she feels in her bones but has no words for. No, the song is too low, she will murmur. This one. Yes. This one sings the same sharp psalm as the wind. They work for 2 days of frantic, focused effort. They are not just making tools, they are tuning a landscape. They use sharp flint flakes to carefully widen the channels in some bones, to shave down the edges of others. Each one painstakingly adjusted until it produces the desired high-frequency shriek when the wind passes over it. This is the ultimate act of environmental adaptation. They are not changing themselves to fit the world. They are changing the world to fit their needs. They are weaponizing the blizzard itself, turning their greatest adversary into their most powerful ally. Kael leads them out into the white blindness, but they are not afraid. They carry their bone chimes, their strange new arsenal. They follow the invisible map in Ina's mind, the landscape of scent and vibration she had memorized. They move with purpose, planting the chimes at strategic points along the predator's known paths, at the mouth of the ravine, and in a dense, overlapping ring around its frozen layer. They are not building a wall of stone, but a wall of sound. As the last chime is set, the wind, as if on cue, rises to a ferocious howl. The effect is immediate and horrific. A sound that is barely a whisper to the humans becomes a symphony of unbearable agony for the Cryolophosaurus. From the cave behind the ice falls comes a roar unlike any they ever heard. It is not a roar of aggression, but of pure unendurable pain. The great, white predator bursts from its lair, its crested head thrashing, its body clumsy with torment. It is no longer a ghost of the storm, but a tortured beast, desperate to escape a world that has suddenly turned into a spike in its brain. It crushes through the snow away from the source of its agony, a magnificent killer brought low by a sound it could not fight into weakness it did not know it had. The clan watches it vanish into the blizzard, a white shape fleeing a white world, until the only sound left is the wind singing its sharp, victorious song through the bones of the dead. The blizzard that had been their prison became their shield. In the howling wind, the clan found not an enemy, but an ally, a power they could channel and direct. This was a profound leap in the story of human consciousness. They had faced a monster they could not see and defeated it with a weapon they could not wield, a force they could barely perceive. Ina's blindness had given them all a new kind of sight, the ability to understand that the world was more than was some of its visible parts. It was a place of hidden frequencies, of unseen forces, of secret languages spoken between bone and wind. This was the moment our ancestors learned that true mastery of the environment comes not from conquering it, but from listening to it, from understanding its deepest, most secret harmonies and discords. Their bone chimes, singing their piercing song into the endless white, were the first instruments of a new science, a testament to the idea that the greatest power is not held in the hand, but in the mind that can perceive the invisible. The first act of true seeing was to close one's eyes and listen. But in the sun-drenched south, sight was about to be weaponized in a way no one could imagine.